Imagine reversing your steps instead of moving forward. It might sound weird, but walking backwards, or what's called as retro walking, is becoming a fitness trend. Yeah, some say it burns more calories and eases joint pain and even gives your brain a boost. Is that possible? Stick around. I'm Gary B. I'm the founder of the Swell score and HealthIQ, and a few years ago I faced a serious health scare. I'm a cancer survivor and a thriver, and I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars chasing and learning the wrong things. And now I'm here to cut through all the BS, all the hype, and focus on the evidence-based wellness insights. Today, we're breaking down the research on retro walking to see if it actually lives up to the hype or if it's just an exotic trend and an exotic exercise. All right, so what is retro walking? Retro walking is exactly what it sounds like. You actually are gonna walk backwards instead of walking forward. It's a simple idea, just take a few steps in reverse, but it changes how your body and your brain work together. When you're walking backwards, your hips and knees, they do more of the work, while your ankles and your calf muscles, they shift roles. This rewiring of the walk engages the different muscle groups, and it forces your brain to pay extra attention since you can't see where you're going. Several coaches and therapists have noticed these changes, and for example, exercise physiologists point out that backward walking recruits more of your glutes and hamstrings and quads than a normal stroll. Your feet strike differently, the toe to heel instead of heel to toe. So this alters your joint loading too. And in fact, researchers have even started to measure brain activity during retro walking. It triggers strong signals in the sensor motor cortex, this area of the brain that controls movement. A 2020 study using EEG showed that backward walking caused significantly larger mu rhythm suppression. That's right, mu rhythm. It's a brainwave change linked to active motor control, and it produced more than forward walking. In plain English, your brain works harder and different areas light up when you go in reverse. So all of these shifts raise a big question. Do these changes actually improve health or performance? Well, let's dive into the science point by point. So why am I here? Well, as I mentioned, after my own health scare, I became obsessed with what really works for wellness, and I got angry about all the crap and misinformation. I founded the Swell Score and this channel to share science-backed tips and products and tools. There's no marketing fluff. There's no BS. I'm not a fitness guru spouting fad workouts. I sift through peer-reviewed studies so that you don't have to. That's how I cut through claims and can give you the real deal. Now, back to walking backwards, okay? We all thought we were moving forward in the world, but we're actually gonna halt and go backwards. We're gonna cover each potential benefit with real research and studies so you can decide for yourself if this is an ultimate hack or it's just another novelty. One reason people try retro walking is the promise of better muscle workout and balance. Here's the logic. If you use different muscles, you might strengthen areas that get neglected during forward walking. And research actually backs this up to some extent. For example, backward walking has been used in rehab because it makes your quads, your front thigh muscles, it makes them work concentrically, and they shorten under the load instead of eccentrically. This means your quads help you push forward in reverse. This can strengthen them without as much strain on the knee joints. And in one study, adding retro walking to standard knee rehabilitation, significantly improved quadriceps strength and patient mobility. This is crazy. In fact, a clinical trial found that patients with knee osteoarthritis who did backward walking plus regular therapy, they had greater reductions in pain and disability than those doing therapy alone. So the authors concluded that retro walking is an effective adjunct to conventional treatment in decreasing disability in patients with knee osteoarthritis. Another analysis of backward walking noted that it tends to improve static balance and overall coordination. A controlled experiment showed people who practiced walking backwards 3 to 4 times a week for a few weeks, they improved their balance and their stability more than people who only stepped forward and stayed inactive. A controlled experiment showed people who practiced walking backwards 3 to 4 times a week for a few weeks, they improved their balance and stability more than people who only stepped forward or stayed inactive. This makes sense. Your sensory and motor systems get a new challenge, forcing your body to adapt its balance strategy. The University of Nevada's Janet Dufek, a leading researcher, reports that retro walking boosts flexibility in low back and hamstrings and helps stabilize weak areas, which is why many therapists incorporate it into rehab programs. In summary, backward walking can activate underused muscles and challenge your balance systems. It's not magic, it's cross-training, and by forcing your legs and your core to stabilize in a new way, you can get extra strength and agility gains. Just remember, these studies often looked at people with specific issues like knee pain, or they were fairly small groups, so the results may vary among healthy folks. Cardio, calories, and metabolism. What about any cardiovascular benefits? Well, if walking backward engages more muscles and brain power, does it also burn more fuel? Several studies say yes. In fact, some sports science guidelines rate retro walking at a higher intensity. The American College of Sports Medicine assigns backward walking around 6 METs, compared to about 3.5 METs for brisk forward walking. Here's a study on that. 1 MET is a metabolic equivalent, basically a measure of energy use. That means at the same speed, backward walking can roughly double the workout intensity. Your heart rate goes up more and you expend more energy. And this isn't just theory. A recent randomized controlled trial put it to the test. 106 sedentary, overweight young adults did either treadmill walking forward or backward for 12 weeks. Both groups lost weight and had lower blood pressure, but the backward walking group saw significantly greater drops in BMI and C-reactive protein. That's an inflammation marker. The retro walkers got leaner, had bigger improvements in heart disease risk marker than the forward walkers, even though both walked the same amount. The authors concluded that retro walking training leads to greater decrease in CRP, BMI, and BP when compared with forward walking. This is groundbreaking stuff. Why might this be? The study's introduction explains that walking backward demands more metabolic cost. You take shorter strides, have higher step frequency, and your muscles are always pushing rather than absorbing impact. All that effort can mean more calorie burn per minute. And for anyone looking to boost their fitness or lose weight, this suggests swapping in reverse walking intervals could help you get more bang for your buck. Of course, we need to be realistic. If you love your morning jogs, backward walking isn't a complete replacement. It's just another tool in the toolbox, but it could help break through a plateau. For example, coaches often use backward treadmill drills to fatigue the muscles differently or to safely spike the workout intensity. A big claim you're going to hear is that retro walking is easier on the knees. Is that true or not? Some studies indicate yes, at least for certain knee conditions. When you walk backwards, the knee joint experiences different forces. In fact, researchers have noted that the peak shear force at knee joints in the opposite direction compared to forward walking. Also, the slower controlled push-off can reduce the usual pounding on arthritic knees. Wow. Remember the knee osteoarthritis trial we spoke about earlier? It found that just 6 weeks of backward walking significantly reduced pain and disability in people with knee osteoarthritis. Those retro walkers had better quad strength and were quicker on a mobility test than inactive controls. Another smaller trial saw that backward walking added to therapy significantly improved knee joint scores compared to therapy alone. In everyday terms, swapping some of your walking routine with reverse steps that might relieve some knee strain while still working your leg muscles. That could be especially helpful for those with joint pain or post-surgery rehab knees. It's not a silver bullet. If you have severe knee issues or balance problems, you should be very, very careful. But the science suggests backward walking may unload the kneecap and build the supporting muscles, which theoretically helps stabilize the joint. And a study in the North American Journal of Medical Sciences, they concluded that The retro walking can reduce disability in knee osteoarthritis patients when used alongside standard care. So for joint health, the takeaway is retro walking can offer benefits, especially as part of rehab. It's one of the few times reversing direction might actually feel like progress for your knees. Let's not forget the brain. Retro walking literally forces you to rewire your brain's map of movement. You have to pay attention in a way that forward walking doesn't require. And emerging research suggests that this can sharpen certain cognitive skills. Harvard Health reviewed a study finding that people who walked backwards, even as little as walking in place backwards, they performed better on short-term memory tests than those who walked forward or stood still. It's thought that the novelty of walking in reverse engages memory systems more strongly. This is crazy. Scientists have also measured brain activity during retro walking. As mentioned earlier, EEG studies show more activity in brain motor areas when people walk backwards. Wow. The author of that study explained it implies backward walking induces more sensoromotor cortex activity than forward walking. This can translate to greater neural engagement of movement and planning. Another way to think about it, walking backward might be a form of neurobic exercise, a term for brain engaged activities that improves coordination, reaction time, spatial awareness. Some researchers even note links between backward walking and processing speed or memory tasks, though data is still limited. However, it's important to note not to oversell this idea. The cognitive claims mainly come from small studies or reviews. And one expert quoted in Nat Geo cautioned that most evidence comes from niche therapy settings. So while it's tempting to say walking backwards makes you smarter, I kind of like that, we should say it may give your brain a workout. Still, given the elderly and the patients with neural conditions often do dual task gait training, walking plus mental tasks, and they see benefits, it wouldn't be surprising if learning to walk backwards has some mild brain fitness perks. Give it a shot. Maybe before the next crossword puzzle or the next test, do some walking in place backwards. So by now, you might be thinking, is retro walking, is this a miracle? Well, let's break down the key takeaways from the research and what it means for you. New muscle stimulus. Walking backwards recruits muscles differently. It can strengthen your glutes, your quads, your hamstrings, and it can improve your core stability. Because it's a novel movement, it also challenges your balance system. It's also a joint-friendly workout. For some knee issues, backward walking can reduce pains, and in studies in osteoarthritis, patients show less disability and pain with retro walking protocols. Higher intensity. Retro walking burns more calories per minute because it demands more effort and focuses energy expenditure. It's an easy way to supercharge a treadmill session or make a quick walk more of a workout. Brain engagement. Going in reverse forces your brain to pay closer attention and use spatial skills. Small studies suggest improvements in short-term memory, reaction time, and attention with backward walking practice. It's not a guaranteed neuro boost, but it keeps your mind active. Safety first. None of this is worth a trip to the emergency room. Always start slow, use a clear path, or hold on to a support until you get comfortable. Studies generally involve supervised treadmill-based backward walking to minimize the falls. And if you found this video interesting, don't forget to like and subscribe to support the channel. It helps me bring more science-backed tips your way. Is retro walking a hack or is a hype? What do you think? Let me know in the comments below.